What is up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Upset weekend. We have plenty of upsets. This is the current top 25 poll. These are the teams picked by committee to be the best of the best. So what happened last week? We had not one, not two, not three upsets. We had 7 ranked opponents losing, one of which was not really upset. We're talking about Michigan, and there would have been another one, but we don't talk about that play over down in California.
There is a clear sign. Lowering the head, there's a crouch, there's an upward thrust.
Yeah.
Because Basaint is hitting with the 6-inch radius at the top of his helmet. And as soon as you see that, an automatic targeting call for the officials.
I'm no referee, but that looks like he's leading with the head of his helmet into the other guy's head. But I don't get paid the big bucks for this. But let's look at what happened this last week. Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri, Michigan, USC, and then we already talked about Miami should have lost that game. Louisville losing to SMU, UNLV also losing to Syracuse on Friday night. We've had some crazy upsets. I had some comments earlier in some of my comment section. Why didn't I really talk about the Big Ten in some of my posts? Because we're talking about SEC talent right now. Everyone's like talking about SEC being the greatest thing since sliced bread. Alabama losing to Vanderbilt for the first time in a long time. Vanderbilt, one of the worst teams in the SEC. Tennessee undefeated, also losing to another unranked team. When was the last time Arkansas did anything special? I'll wait. That's why we talked about Alabama, Tennessee. Michigan still came into this game with 1 loss. Were the underdogs, according to Vegas. They were the underdogs by -2.5. USC also already had 1 loss. And they're not even in the top 10. So that's why I talked about the SEC teams and not the Big Ten teams. I would have made a video if Miami lost. UNLV losing to Syracuse is crazy because they were one of the top picks for the Group of 5 team. Louisville also losing to SMU is crazy because SMU is running a tear through the ACC right now. Didn't the ACC big dogs, Clemson and Florida State, say JMU can't compete? It's looking like they're competing just fine. Now we're going to go over the updated AP Top 25 polls they just dropped. This is my live reaction to what has just transcribed. After 7 teams upset this weekend in the top 25, now we get to see on who's in, who's out, and who's still in the top 10, top 12 to see who's potentially, our bracketology for the playoffs. So our first team, we could definitely tell, is definitely going to be Texas. As you can see, all 5 of these things have Texas. So look, we have is Texas number 1 with 52 first place votes. That means they're like the undisputed, essentially almost undisputed first place. Second is definitely going to be Ohio State. I don't think any other team, even Oregon, will pass them. Now we have is Ohio State number 2. Congratulations, moving on up in the world after Tennessee and Alabama losing in the same week. And the previous week, Georgia. It's been a crazy couple weeks, guys. Next we have is Oregon at number 3. Let's just finish out the top 5 here. We have Oregon, Penn State, and Georgia. This is a very stacked lineup. We have 3 Big Ten teams, essentially a big flip from last week where we had most of the top 5 was dominated by the SEC, and now it's mostly dominated by the Big Ten. Not saying that either conference is better than the other, but I'm definitely seeing that there is definitely a swing, like a pendulum, when it comes to these rankings. So I do think that the top 12 will be the most standard, or at least the top 10, for example, because there's going to be 1 spot for the Group of 5. Moving on to the next one, I would predict that it's either going to be Alabama or Miami. I personally would put Alabama ahead of Miami just because I think that Alabama is a better program. I know they just lost to Vanderbilt, but they did beat Georgia, and Georgia is sitting at number 5. So I would just put it as benefit of the doubt. No SEC fanboy. I am Iowa Hawkeyes all the way, and I do respect the Big Ten, but I do think that Cal should have beat Miami. As we saw earlier in the video, there's some interesting calls that were being made there. So now we're going to scroll down here. We have is Miami sitting at number 6. I know I just said I would rather have Alabama. I wonder where they put Alabama on this list, but Miami going up 2 spots after barely beating Cal in the final seconds of the game. I just don't see it happening. I don't think they deserve this ranking. I think there's better and bigger programs right now in the Big 12 and in the ACC that are just almost feel better overall as a program. I know Miami, they're undefeated, blah, blah, blah. But, like, come on, California, like, I know they were 3-1 at the time, but they are not that good. They're moving on to the next one we have is Alabama, Tennessee, Clemson, and Ole Miss. After that big wave of 9 through 11 losing and all that, now we have a new set of teams moving in. We have Clemson, another ACC team. Now there's 2 ACC teams in the top 12, which is really good to see. Alabama at number 7. I know, like I said, 6 and 7, it could go either way in my opinion. And then we have Tennessee moving down 4 spots to number 8, and Ole Miss moving back into the top 10. Ole Miss is another one of those teams where I just don't think they are a top 10 program as of right now. As of today, I just don't think they are. I think you could put an undefeated Big 12 team in this spot. I just feel like they're giving the SEC way too much benefit of the doubt this one. And there's other power programs. I know that everyone's saying that they want to switch to a Big 2 format. I just don't think that's good for the game of football. So I will say that Ole Miss being at number 9 is kind of disrespectful to those other programs like the BYUs, the Iowa States of the world, that kind of stuff. So moving on to number 11 through 15, if it will let me. So we got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 2 11 programs. We have Iowa State and Notre Dame tied here. Iowa State is undefeated. That's what I was saying earlier. I think that they could put a Big 12 team here into the top 10 just to, to show that there are some other conferences that have some strong talent. And Iowa State being undefeated just beat Baylor, commanding victory. I know it was really close to early, but they really took the reins, scored so many points in that second half. It almost felt like Baylor was just there to watch them score. Next, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame moving up 3 spots after that bye week they had. I do think that Notre Dame's a pretty good program. They need to stay in this range or even go higher just so they have a chance to make it to the 12 team. If they lose another game, I just don't think it's going to happen with all the talent that there is. As you can see, look at this. So we're at 15 and there's still only 1-loss programs. There's not a single 2-loss program in the top 15 right now. So I just think it's going to be a very competitive year this year, and there's a lot of SEC, a lot of Big 10 here. BYU moving up 3 spots, also being undefeated in the Big 12. I think they're going to make a run for the Big 12 championship, and it's going to be a very interesting sight to see BYU really showing some promise. After joining the Power 5, they just really weren't doing much. Even as a Group of 5 team, they were getting good wins, but they were against bad teams, and when they were independent, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think that right now they are showing some really good promise on the Power 4 level. So we have Texas A&M going up 10 whole spots after that dominated victory against Missouri, 41-10 in that game. And I do think that Texas A&M is one of those teams where I just don't think that they are as good as they come out to be. I think they're another one of those teams where every year they show this promise, they show this hype around their program, and then when you get down to week 8 and week 9, they just start losing, and then they finish the season off with 3 to 4 losses, and you're like, what happened, and why aren't you're not even ranked anymore? Moving on to the next 5 we have is all the way down to Missouri, 21. We have more ties. We have a tie at 18. We have Utah, Boise at 17, Kansas State at 18, Indiana 18, Oklahoma at 18, Missouri at 21. A 3-way tie here. I do agree with these rankings here. Utah moving up 2 spots. They still haven't really played too many good teams, so I don't think that they really need to be up there with the SEC talent just yet. And then Mountain West team, Boise's going crazy. Boise State going all the way. That's my pick for the Group of 5 team right now. They have huge offensive talent right now. Their running back in contention for the Heisman. He has some great stats going on right now and going into week 6. Kansas State moving up 2 spots. Very promising team there. I do think they're, in my opinion, they feel like an Oklahoma State where they get you in the beginning and then in the second half they just fall off, similar to Texas A&M. Indiana undefeated. I don't think this is gonna be a short-lived undefeated season. They play some pretty good opponents coming up. They have Ohio State on their schedule. They have Michigan on their schedule. They have Nebraska on their schedule. I just don't think they're going to be this undefeated Titan. I think they're going to have at least 2 or 3 losses this year in the Big Ten, so they won't even go to the title game. And I don't think they'll be able. I don't think this is their year. But they are showing a lot of promise. Starting 6-0 is nothing to scoff at in this league. Next, we have Oklahoma moving up 1 spot with 1 loss. They're one of those SEC teams where I just don't know what you're going to get with Oklahoma week to week. One moment they're looking really good, like the old Big 12 Oklahoma, and next week they're barely beating Auburn. Next we have is Missouri. Missouri moving down 12 spots after a devastating loss against Texas A&M. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but I do think that since they did lose by 31 points, I'm not surprised that they're at 21. Next we have is Pittsburgh. Welcome to the rankings. Pittsburgh's another one of those teams that I had predicted to be in the top 25 this week. I had Pittsburgh, SMU, and then maybe Army, Navy could be also one of the two. Pittsburgh is a good program at the beginning of the year before they play anybody good. They fight every game. Every game is going to be close. I don't think Pittsburgh is one of those teams that's going to blow out anybody. I don't think they're going to be competing for the ACC title. I have my prediction for that one is SMU versus Clemson in that game. Next, we have the rest of the rankings. We have is Illinois, Michigan, SMU. SMU, welcome to the ranks. Like I said, I had them picked as one of the teams. I see no Army, see no Navy. I also don't see any USC. USC was 11th, and they just looks like they got booted from the rankings. Michigan's barely hanging on. Went down 14 points after that loss against unranked Washington. Michigan's another one of those teams that just feels underwhelming. They feel like Iowa a couple years ago, which is unfortunate for them. And then we have there's USC right here, 98 votes. And we got Nebraska, 51. Army and Navy receiving about 10 votes difference. Vanderbilt getting some love. Arkansas as well. I just don't think any of these teams, most of these teams are two-loss teams. So I just don't think there's not very many two-loss teams in the rankings right now. Iowa got some votes still. Don't know how. Texas Tech, Syracuse, Washington, Louisville. Colorado's another one of those sleeper teams where if they can continue performing well, they have a chance to win the Big 12 or even compete for the Big 12. But right now there's a couple undefeateds right now they have to get through. Kentucky receiving one measly vote. But that's going to be it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and we'll see you next time. Peace!